Well, something major has just happened. President Trump has now stated that he is going to cancel 92% of what President Biden signed during his time in the Oval Office. This is massive, but look at this. It says, Trump says he's canceling all Biden orders signed using Autopen. This is massive because this could mean things like the Affordable Care Act, the American Rescue Plan. It puts them in question, but also when we extended or enhanced some of those provisions. For instance, what President Biden signed was, and he signed a lot of things, and I'll explain this in a moment because I believe he signed upwards of 1,000 different documents. This was massive during a 4-year term. But here's the crazy part. This could mean things like insulin becomes more expensive, medication becomes more expensive. And again, this isn't something the American people want, but what President Trump is saying that this could be a huge scandal. And we could see the American taxpayers are just being pretty much pillaged here because the Biden administration was ripe for fraud. And that's what the Trump administration has been saying for quite some time, is we need to get to the bottom of this because there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. But yet, we don't know exactly where we stand. Look what President Trump posted today. He says, any document signed by sleepy Joe Biden with the Autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. The Autopen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circling Biden around the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. I'm hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, because the people who operated the Autopen did so illegally. Joe Biden was not involved in the Autopen process, and if he says he was, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That was posted just today. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, for multiple different reasons. Many believe that during President Biden's later part of his term, so really the last year specifically, and even the last 2 years, is that he was not himself. And there was a chunk of time where we didn't see President Biden. He didn't come out and speak. Okay, his party kept him behind closed doors. He would do certain things, but it would be on a video. It would be short. People would give statements for him on his behalf because his health was deteriorating. Well, I want to play something for you. Okay, look at this right here.
And Manu, look, there are a lot of questions here, as you noted. I mean, there's legalities involved, and talking about what this would even apply to. I mean, Trump in this Truth Social post says that it's 92% of things that Biden signed to use the Autopen. It's unclear where he got that percentage. And again, the legality of all of this. Can he?
I want to jump in here really quick. Now we're going to play a little more of this clip, but I want to show you something, okay? Look at this right here. It says, the Autopen device, which holds a real pen and signs paper using a handwriting template, automatically reproduces a person's signature with high accuracy. Now, it's difficult to tell because, again, it's very high accuracy, but just the different hand movements, whether you see a little bit of a smudge, different things like that, will give an expert a good indication of what was signed using Autopen. President Trump obviously gave a 92% figure, so he must be getting that from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from, but again, there are certain pieces of legislation that we do know President Biden did sign. I want to read something to you, okay? It says right here, during Biden's presidency, he signed 162 executive orders in addition to hundreds of memoranda, proclamations, and notices. It says right here, and I'll give you a quick example though in a moment, but 162 executive orders. There were 242 presidential memoranda, 725 proclamations, and 152 notices. That's what President Biden or an Autopen signed. It says, though Trump signed an executive order in January rescinding nearly 80 Biden-era executive orders, some of those that appear to remain in full force and may now be subject to cancellation include Executive Order 14087, which lowers prescription drug costs. That's a big one in the U.S. Executive Order 14096, which centers around environmental justice, and Executive Order 14110, which cracks down on the development and use of artificial intelligence. Again, there's a lot of speculation as to what in the world is going to happen if President Trump is able to reverse all these signed memoranda, proclamations, notices, and executive orders. But I want to come out and say one thing. There are two major pieces of legislation that President Biden signed. Okay, we have actual video proof. We have photos. It was a big thing. Okay, the American Rescue Plan of 2021. That was during, again, early on in his administration where he was still fairly healthy and pretty coherent. And then there was the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. And I know for a fact many Republicans would say they want to do away with a lot of these things because it was just complete crap. The Inflation Reduction Act hurt the American people more than anything. It increased inflation, made things more expensive. And I understand, yes, that kind of came and coincided with this war between Russia and Ukraine. But again, this is where we're at, okay? Those are two bills, two massive pieces of legislation that President Biden signed. Again, but those passed through the House and the Senate and went to President Biden's desk and he signed it. It was live. We saw video, we saw photos. There were people there, big PR thing, okay? So yes, those two things did happen. But as far as some of the other ones, again, we just don't know. I want to keep playing this clip for you. Listen to this.
Just undo what Biden did? I would assume the answer is no, but of course we're still talking to lawyers to figure out what exactly is, if anything, possible here. Now, as you've noted, President Trump has been fixated on this idea of Biden using the Autopen to the point where he actually changed his portrait, Biden's portrait in his presidential walk of fame, to an Autopen there. And he has said, both privately and publicly, that he believes that this Autopen is going to be the biggest scandal that the country has seen. Now,
I want to come out and say this as well. President Trump says this could be one of the biggest scandals the United States has ever seen. And for multiple reasons, because if President Biden comes out and says that, yeah, he knew about this, he knew about the Autopen, and there's a lot of people that are speculating about this, that some of the things that were signed didn't make sense. It had made absolutely no sense why they'd be signed at that time, why President Biden all of a sudden just changed his mind. All of a sudden, it made no sense. Which is why many people, many experts speculated during those times that President Biden may not be the one that's actually running the country. It could have been other people. For instance, possibly, and again, we don't know, was it Chuck Schumer? Did Nancy Pelosi have anything to do with it? Did Kamala Harris, right? We have no clue. But according to reports today, President Trump wants to get to the bottom of this. Wants to figure out who was the one actually running the country, and did President Biden actually know what he was signing? Or was he just being told that, yep, this has to be signed, and it needs to be signed today? Possibly. Let's keep listening.
Now, a couple of things. You talk a little bit about what happens if Biden pushes back and says he was part of the process. He'll get charged with perjury. That's what Trump says in this Truth Social. Well, we know Biden has already pushed back on this idea. He has said that everything and all the use of the Autopen was completely above board, that he knew everything that was going on while he was president. It wasn't the people around him. He was making the decisions, even if they were using the Autopen. So what exactly does that mean for this so-called perjury charge, and what happens next there? And the other part of this, of course, being that President Trump has called for an investigation already into Biden's use of the Autopen, and at one point essentially said that anything that he signed should be null and void. Again, as you noted, this is taking it a huge step further, saying that it is null and void and that everything is going to be reversed. we are still reaching out to White House officials as well as to lawyers to figure out if there is anything that this means in the legal sense, and also in terms of the White House, what they're specifically looking at, if anything, when it comes to reversing decisions that were signed by Biden using this Autopen.
Okay. So again, this was something President Trump just announced, or actually put a statement out there about it. And some of the reasons why. Because you're probably wondering, well, why would President Trump come out and do this now? Well, it's because of the shooting that happened yesterday. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did a video on it just the other day. But what happened was there was a shooter that was, steps from the White House. Anyway, shot at 2 National Guardsmen. One of which ended up passing away yesterday. Okay. The other one is still fighting for his life. Now, based off what we're hearing from the Trump administration, from White House officials, President Trump is going to go after and pretty much pausing all immigration from third world countries. Okay? The person that shot, according to the multiple reports, came in and gained status during the Biden administration. As a result, President Trump wants to go back, okay, fix things, send everyone back that isn't legally here or that wasn't vetted properly, and we will go back through the proper channels. That's the reason why President Trump wants to go back and do this, because he believes that former President Joe Biden wasn't the one that was signing all these things. It were people within Congress, people within his cabinet that were telling him, this is what we have to do. We're doing it now. Here you go. This is being signed. And then there it goes. It's signed, and President Biden, whether he knew it or not, right, is the one that's behind it. So we're going to see what happens moving forward. But the one thing I can tell you as of today is that the Trump administration is serious about this, has been serious about this, and wanted to do a full-scale investigation. But according to reports, they didn't have enough to actually do it. Now, potentially they do. So we'll see what happens. But as soon as I get more information as to what is going on and how this is going to impact you, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates as soon as we get them. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.